Hey guys! In the last video, we set up a movie gallery. But what's a gallery good for if you can't check out the movie details? It's time to add a second screen to our application, the movie details page. In order to do that, we'll have to introduce a new concept that I didn't explain in detail yet, Angular routes. A web application is composed of several different pages. In a regular application, your location inside the app is defined by the URL you request. For example, if you go to facebook.com, it will take you to your profile page. But if you go to facebook.com/messages, it will take you to your inbox. In a single page web application, however, the entire app actually runs on the same page. This means AngularJS needs a different way to deal with the routes and define your location in the app so it can load the right view, the right template, and behave just like a regular application for the final user. That's when the Angular route model comes in. The Angular route model is included in your bower.json file by default. All you need to do now to load the module is to include the file in your index.html. Now to inject the module, go back to your app.js and include ng-route in your dependency array. Now that we have included the module, it's time to configure our first route. Let's use the config method to add a configuration function. And let's pass as a parameter to that function the $route provider object. The route provider is what you use to configure the routes of your application. So let's use it to define our first location. Add route provider.when/ and then a hash containing template URL, and let's add catalog/catalog.html and a controller that will be catalog controller. Let's also add a second one that will be otherwise redirect to /. What I'm doing here is very simple. I'm telling the application that whenever the user goes for the root of the application or the / location, AngularJS is supposed to load the template that is located in catalog/catalog.html, and it's supposed to load a controller named catalog controller. The second line tells Angular that any other route that the user inputs that is not defined in this configuration should redirect to the root. The only problem is we don't have a file named catalog/catalog.html, so let's create it, and then let's go into our index.html and let's transfer over the section that corresponds to the template of the gallery to that file. Now back to index.html, let's add a directive called ngView. The ngView directive tells AngularJS where the partial is supposed to be loaded into the page. So it will replace the directive with the code contained in your partial. Also, when we're using the route provider, the controller that will be in charge of that view is defined in the route itself. So we can go to the top of the file and remove this controller tag and then go back to the browser and test it. It works just like before. But now we're loading a partial instead of having the whole template in a single file. Also now, if you go to the URL and you input any route here, it will redirect you back to the root. Now, let's go ahead and create a new page for our application. Go back to our app.js and add a new route. Let's do it when movie/id template URL movie/movies.html and controller movie controller. The difference here is that we're getting an ID parameter from the route. And of course, we didn't create this template or this controller yet, so let's do that. First, let's create our movies directory, and inside of the movies directory, we're gonna create a file named movie.html that will be our template, and another one called movie.js that will contain our controller. Then let's add the controller in the index.html, and now we're ready to code the controller. Let's create a new module here called moviedb.movie, and then let's go back to our app.js and include that module into our application. Back to the movie.js, and then let's add a new controller to it called movie controller. We're going to use a few services in this controller, so let's add the ones we already know. The scope service, the filter, the HTTP, and a new one we didn't use yet, the route params. We can use the route params to retrieve the parameters we defined in the route, like this. Scope movie ID gets root params.id. Then we can use that ID to select only the movie we want from the list and show its details. So let's copy over the HTTP request that recovers the list from the catalog controller, and then let's make a few adjustments. Let's use the filter service again to filter our data and get only the record that has ID matching the scope movie ID. And we're gonna use the parseInt variable here, otherwise it's gonna go as a string and the comparison will fail. Let's also change it from movie list to just movie. Now let's create the template we need to show this. Let's go to our movie.html and let's just add an expression printing the movie title. Then let's go to our catalog.html and let's link the movies in the galleries to the details page. Just add an href hash movie ID. Now you can go to the browser, reload the page, click in one of the movies, and there it is, the title. Now let's write the actual template to make this look nice. In the next video, we're gonna turn this blank template into something useful. See you there.